Hi guys and welcome to Fandom Newbie. My name is Shruti and today's video is a slightly different one, but I'm quite excited to share it with you guys. In this video, I'm going to be interviewing Anindita Das, the author of What the Pandemic Learned from Me, which is a new book that released last month. This book is basically a funny, relatable, and light-hearted take on everything that Anindita experienced during the pandemic, so over the past 1.5 years. And I actually got to sit down with her and talk to her about what it was like for her to write and publish her first book amidst a global pandemic. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this interview. What inspired you during the pandemic to write a book about it? And like the thing is that your book is very, very relatable. It really talks about, like, I think what a lot of us felt over this past 1.5 years, what all of us have gone through. I think your book really captures that well. So, like, what inspired you to write about this?
Yeah, so initially when I began writing, it was more like a distraction for myself from everything that was happening around us, all the doom scrolling that we were doing, and all the negative. I won't say negative, but that was news. They were supposed to report it, but then it does have an impact on you. So initially it was like a distraction, and for me to kind of like process my feelings and calm myself down. Yeah. And then I started enjoying it, and it sort of took a life on its own, and it became something much bigger. And then I thought maybe there would be people who would be interested in reading this, who are looking for a break from everything that's happening, looking for something positive and happy. So that's how it was, almost like a journal entry, and then it became like sort of like I thought it should be a book.
It really does feel like we're reading your diary or like reading your journal, because it really, like, you can tell that it's all your thoughts that you had during that time. Like I said before, one of the things, and you also mentioned it, about how it was really like you wanted to bring in some amount of positivity during this whole gloom and doom time that we had. So how did you find that positivity, and how did you find it within yourself to write something funny and relatable when actually around us it was very gloom and doom and like end of the world kind of scenario?
I don't know, it's surprising to me also, because I'm hardly this ray of sunshine. I'm not this cheerful, bubbly person at all. And my friends have been telling me that I've become far too serious and I need to loosen up. But then I think I have this really silly mental voice, and that's the tone I have taken for the book. And I think this is how I think to myself. I had to detach from a lot of things that were happening around me to, keep at it, keep this almost like superficial happiness, I would have to say, because I was questioning myself constantly whether this is the correct kind of book that I need to write. I think that when a person reads this book, what they're going to be left with is a feeling of happiness, a little bit of a smile. So that's what kept me motivated and, keep at it. Yeah.
So how has it been for you throughout this time? Like, I mean, with the second wave and previously with the lockdown, like, I know that everyone, I think, went a little crazy after like the first 6 months of being in lockdown. So, and you also, you said you work in an ad agency, and since I've also worked in in a social media ad agency, I know the pressures of that job, and I know that how crazy it can get. How did you balance writing a book when I think all of us were feeling a little crazy, as well as working in an ad agency and keeping your day job?
There was a lot of change in terms of how we were working. So I'm currently working with Wonderman Thompson, and it's a typical ad agency, like how work goes on. Although there are like some really nice people who are genuinely interested in making your life easier. But work is work at the end of the day, and there was a lot of juggling to be done between, remote supervision of shoots and your day-to-day work, and then I had to find time for the book. And if you've read my book, you already know that I'm not a morning person.
Yes.
It was painful to wake up early and find those extra 2 hours to work on something like a passion project, a book. And but I had to make time for it. And after the usual day-to-day work, if I had some extra amount of time left, I would actually switch to the book in the evening. So it was a little nuts in between, switching from this to that to that to this. Yeah, but I guess it paid off.
So could you tell us a little bit about the whole process of publishing a book during the pandemic? What were some of your challenges that you faced, and how is the whole process like for you?
So honestly, I don't have any other book to compare it with, like which could have been written before or after the pandemic. But I guess it had its challenges. I kind of missed out on a lot of things. Like I would have liked a small book launch, or even like going to a bookstore and signing some books. But I guess that will have to wait. Otherwise, it seemed to go on like really smoothly. There was a lot of coordination to be done for sure. Like lots of like phone calls and email, and like it took a little more time to explain things rather than if we would be sitting face to face and doing it. So my name is like the most common name like in the eastern part of the country. So when I was in school, like there was one Anindita Das in every class, right? So this thing is kind of never lets go of me. So when the book was ready for pre-order, Amazon kind of by default selected another Anindita Das, who's also an author.
Oh no!
And my book, book got linked to her, and we had to wait for like good 1 week, write mails like 20,000 times that this is not that Anindita, this is some new Anindita who you have to give credit to. So I'm assuming like in normal times, like we actually had to get in touch with the other author that please remove this book from your shelf and let this new writer take credit for it.
And what about any just personal challenges when it comes to maybe writing the book? So like what is like the hardest or the most challenging part of actually doing it and like writing a book?
So the hard part was like detaching from everything that was happening and being like this unaffected person who's living in this bubble and only talking about happy things. So that was like really like difficult, like because no one had expected that second wave to be like this harsh and this tough, right? So I kind of did not anticipate that. And like towards the end of the book, if you see that there is a shift in the tonality, because obviously you can't be like completely oblivious to it.
Correct.
So I guess that was tough. And then this constantly needing to remind myself, right, that what I'm writing is actually, it makes sense. It's not some silly absurd thing that I'm writing and no one's going to read. So that was like the toughest part, like convincing myself, like forget convincing anybody else. It was difficult to convince myself. So I had to work on it like constantly.
Was there any specific moment in your childhood or whenever that, you got this kind of like eureka moment, like, yes, like, like this is the time when I figured out that I want to be an author? Was there anything like that for you, or like, how did you decide to be an author, basically?
There was always this little niggling dream that I wanted to write a book, but honestly, there wasn't this particular moment. But having said that, as a child, I was like this really weird child, disconnected from the real world. I actually used to have like slots for daydreaming, that this is a particular time I'm going to daydream and be in this world. So like for everyone else, maybe I was like painting, let's say. So it would seem like I'm painting, but actually I'm trying to live this story where I'm just like probably some character who's like a painter or something like that. So I used to constantly live vicariously through these storytelling moments that used to go on in my head. So this thing was there, but there wasn't like a defining moment or any such thing. I just started writing, and I didn't think that this will become a book. But then eventually, I thought it sounds nice. It makes me feel happy, so we can make it a book.
And you're talking about those little daydreaming pockets. Like, you're not weird at all, because I also used to do the exact same thing when I was a kid.
And believe it or not, I still do it sometimes.
Same. It's like my escapism. Okay. Awesome. All right. So I think now we can move on to the last question. That is, if you have any advice for any, young authors who would like to publish a book one day, what is that advice that you would give them?
I mean, you just have to listen to that little voice which is telling you that maybe you can do it. Definitely you can do it. You just have to like get rid of all these resistances that are coming inside your head. And I know there are plenty of them.
Yeah.
You just have to get over that little thing and act on it. And you might have like 1,000 ideas. You have to identify the one which you know is going to click and is going to work. And I guess after that, everything else will just work out by itself. You just have to act on it.
Yes, thank you so much, Anindita, for joining me in this interview. It was a blast talking to you. And yeah, maybe if you just like to tell everyone where they can get your book. And there will be a link in the description for all of you to buy Anindita's book. But maybe if you just want to say something about your book at the end, just to tell people where they can get it or why they should read it.
Thank you, Shruti, for having me. It was a really good, nice start to the weekend.
Yeah.
And as far as the book is concerned, I guess you should all check it out. I think you will find something amusing, silly, rude, funny in the book, and you can grab it from Amazon or Flipkart. It's available worldwide right now.
Awesome. Okay. Like I said, links are in the description. You guys can check them out. And yeah, definitely check out Anindita's book. I'm sure it'll put a smile on your face. So yes, again, thank you so much, Anindita.